everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm Julie Riley and my company is Chefs of the Future, a cooking school that comes to you. So I'm in your kitchen, you're in mine, and today we are going to whip up two decadent desserts. They're very similar. We're going to make red velvet cheesecake bites and red velvet whoopie pies. So we're going to get right to it. I thank the Floral Park Library for sponsoring this program, and I hope that we're back in the library soon. I miss you all so very dearly. So let's go. All right, the first thing we're going to start on are the cheesecake bites. I have my mixing bowl and I have my stand mixer. Into my mixing bowl, I'm going to put a package of cream cheese. That's 8 ounces of cream cheese. A tablespoon of sugar. So now, since this is a teaching class, I don't have everything all measured out ahead of time. I want you all to see how to do everything, right? And we just scoop, and you really want to level that off, so it's a level scoop. I got my heart scoop for Valentine's Day. We need 1/2 cup of heavy cream that I did measure out ahead of time. And I have 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. Always measure over your bowl or over a separate bowl. With vanilla, it doesn't make a difference if a little extra gets in there. And I'm going to put this on my stand mixer, and I'm going to beat it until everything combines and it's nice and creamy. I'm going to use my whisk, and here we go. I'm going to start it out low and slowly raise the speed. What I'm looking for is an even consistency. Take out my favorite spatula. And we stop it and scrape down the sides and the whisk. And put it back on. So the next thing I'm going to add to this, as soon as it's nice and smooth, is a package of instant pudding. It's 3.4 ounces. And in the recipe, I say to use vanilla pudding. I didn't have vanilla pudding, so I'm going to make mine banana flavor. Gotta love it. And it's going to pretty much thicken up right away. I want to scrape down the sides to make sure that all of the pudding got into the mix. Next, we're going to do the red velvet cookie part of it. Before we start on the recipe, we're going to take our sheet pans and you can use a baking sheet, and most of these baking sheets have little circles on them, and for this recipe that would be very useful because whoopie pies, when you bake them, they spread out, and this gives you a guide of how big to make them. If you don't have a baking sheet like these with circles on it, you can just make your own circles. So just take a piece of parchment and you can draw circles for a guideline how big to make them. I'm not going to go all the way around. Just basically to get an idea of how I need to space them. The inner circle is the one that is important. Now, once you have your circles drawn on your parchment paper, you want to flip the parchment paper upside down because you don't want to get that ink into your cookies. That would be icky. The other thing that you can do, I do have it, for like Valentine's Day, you could take a heart cookie cutter, and you could outline those and make heart-shaped whoopie pies. I'm going to try a few. This heart that I have might be a little too big, but I'll go inside the lines when I actually put the batter on the tray. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a little bit of a guide. You don't have to spend a lot of time drawing them. I'm just quickly going around. Okay, so there it is. You see how they're not perfect? They don't need to be perfect. Okay, I'm going to put that one. I'm going to set these trays to the side. Or if you have a muffin top pan, I actually do have a muffin top pan, one round and one heart. But those are fun to use for this too because it's just enough batter in there. But they make bigger whoopie pies. Alrighty, so here I go. I'm going to take my mixer out, attached in there. Let's get our recipe. And we have to measure out our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients. So first, I always like to measure out my dry ingredients first. Your flour and your cocoa powder and your baking soda. And I'm going to show you, I don't have things measured out ahead of time because I like to teach you as we go along. So it calls for 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So when you measure flour, you kind of scoop the flour and put it in your dry measuring cup. And then I like to use the stick part of my wooden spoon to level it off. That's 1 level measuring cup. You never want to just scoop like this and pack. You never want to pack it down either. That changes the, the mass of what is in the cup, or the density. And there we go, 2 cups of flour. Two tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder. You know, most bakers use cocoa powder is what they use in most recipes. And again, we're going to level that off. One, 2. Fantastic. And then we're going to add our salt and with a baking soda. Okay, so the baking soda is 1/2 teaspoon and the salt is 1/4 teaspoon. Here's my baking soda right here. So And my salt. Now I am using unsalted butter in this recipe, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit more salt, because my butter has no salt in it. Alrighty. So we just give that a quick little stir. Mix the cocoa into the flour. And it looks like it's one color and you don't see any brown streaks or white streaks. I'm not going to over mix it. We just have to have it there. And we're ready for our wet ingredients. So in a large mixing bowl, we're going to beat our butter. I am going to use a paddle for the filling. I'll use the whisk one. And for those cheesecake bites we made, I used the whisk one. So I'm going to just put this on. I like to add the butter first. If you didn't have your butter out ahead of time, it'll have to go for a little longer. And my whole table's shaking. Alright, I'm going to scrape down the sides. Spoon rests. And now to this, I'm going to add my brown sugar. So the brown sugar is 1 packed cup. So this is different from the flour. The flour, we didn't pack it down. This, we are going to pack this down. So we scoop our brown sugar into our cup. And then we press down on it. And then it's not level, so I'm going to put a little bit more. And press down on it. Fantastic. Add that to my butter. I'm going to raise the speed a little bit. And that's going to go round and round and round. You want it to become light and fluffy. So once it incorporates, I'm going to raise the speed a little bit. And I do see that there is some butter that's stuck on the bottom of my bowl. So I'm going to have to go in there and scrape. Now some recipes, it tells you specific order of what to put in the recipe when. This is one of those times. Usually it's your butter, then your sugar, then your eggs, then your vanilla. Because what's happening is we are creating a chemical reaction with these ingredients. They are binding to each other. All right, oh, that looks good. Going round and round. In the meantime, I am going to get my egg ready. When you use eggs in your recipe, always crack them into a separate container for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want shells in our recipe. And the other is that if the egg is rotten. So I like to make a crack, put my fingers there. Now I know kids, you like to squeeze. Don't squeeze it, just turn it upside down and gently pull it apart. The tendency is for children to really squeeze that and then the egg will cook all over the place. All right, I'm going to show you what the butter and the brown sugar look like now. For a while it was very clumpy. It looked like it had lumps in it. And now it's all mixed together. It's fairly light and fluffy. Brown sugar, you don't get as fluffy as when you use the white sugar. All right, I'm going to put this back on. And I'm going to add 1 egg. One egg. And let that get incorporated. It kind of separates the dough and it looks slimy at first. But it mixes and mixes and mixes. And here's where it's going to get nice and light and fluffy too. In the meantime, I'm going to get ready with my vanilla. And I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Make sure it's a full teaspoon. And I always use real vanilla extract. I don't use the imitation stuff. That's not a time to skimp. The other time it's not a time to skimp is your cocoa powder. Use a really good cocoa powder. I love the Hershey's flavor. It's very distinct. All right. So now the batter looks basically like frosting. That's what it looks like. All right. Put it back on. Okay, the next part of the recipe says to add alternating your flour and your buttermilk. Beating after each time. So the buttermilk is a 1/2 cup. So I'm going to put a little bit in. I'm going to lower this. I'm going to put on my splash guard. I'm going to add some of my flour. I'm going to do this in 3 parts. Of course, scraping down each time also. And you want it to mix in between. Once it's mixed in, that it's incorporated, I'm going to add the last bit of the buttermilk. And the last bit of my flour. If you don't have a splash guard, I highly recommend stopping the beating, adding, and then you turn the beater on very low, a little bit at a time. And now I'm going to add my red food coloring. It says 2 tablespoons. That's a lot of red food coloring. Alrighty. Alright, I am going to stop it, scrape it down one last time. I think I just got some red food coloring all over me too. Good thing I have my apron on. Now, if you're not a big fan of food coloring, you just put a little bit in. totally a visual thing, right? Alrighty, I'm going to scrape down my paddle. I'm going to show you what this looks like. And I'm going to put it into this bowl. Fantastic. And I'm going to clean up my working space. And I'm going to get my sheet pans. And I do believe that the recipe says to scoop them out 1 or 2 inch diameter rounds and about a 1/2 inch high. So I'm going to use my little scooper here. Let's do the round ones first. I'm going to scoop it right into the middle of that circle. I have a tiny little scooper, which is going to give me even cookies. Which for this, we want, right? Because each whoopie pie is 2 cookies. I'm going to make a sandwich out of them. Make sure you turn on your oven. And what does it say? Your oven needs to be on 375, not 350, 375. And I think that's because these cookies have to cook a little bit faster. So what's nice about this sheet, this baking sheet, it shows you how far to spread them out. And I don't want to flatten them out either. I want to keep them that nice shape. Next, for the hearts, I'm going to use a spoon. So I'll use the measuring spoon to measure. And let's see if we can get a nice little shot of this one. So I just want to, I'm going to put it in the center. And I am going to spread it out a little to see if we can make a heart. It's going to spread, so it might not look exactly like the heart, but we'll get the idea of it. So just make like a V shape and bring it down. I'm just bringing down the 3 points. We'll try it, right? If it doesn't work, it's okay. They're still cookies, and we could still make whoopie pies out of them. And as I always like to say, I'm perfectly imperfect. Not that I don't strive for excellence. I always strive for excellence. But it's okay if we're imperfect. We don't have to beat ourselves up, because you never know what you're going to invent by not being perfect. Some of the great inventors were not perfect. They invented things. I know Einstein and Benjamin Franklin, I think they both invented things that were a mistake. Or that they just tried and tried and tried until they got it perfect. All right. That's pretty cool. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, since we are doing two recipes, my next batch of cookies, I'm just going to make them really big. Not just because of that. You can make big whoopie pies too. So this one, I'm going to make big ones. Since we're making the other recipe, the red velvet cheesecake bites, I just want to make a few, so these are just going to get crumbled up anyway. So there's no sense in making them small. But big whoopie pies are fun. Fun to eat. You know, the same recipe, we could fill these, you know, we're going to have that cream cheese filling. But these will be fun to fill with ice cream too. They're going to be perfect, like, for ice cream sandwiches. So all different recipes, and you could use them in various ways. All right. This one's kind of just going to be an odd shape. Fantastic. And in those will go. So what we're going to do next is we're going to clean up our area and we're going to get ready to make our filling for our whoopie pies. Alrighty. So into the oven they go. Okay. The cookies are in the oven and now we're going to make the cream filling. Marshmallow, cheese, and butter. Oh my goodness. So delicious. So here we go. I'm going to take a stick of butter. This is nice and soft. And a package of cream cheese. 8 ounces. I'm going to whisk that together first before I add my marshmallow. There it is. Look at that container of fluff. Okay. There we go. Turn on my mixer. Butter, cream cheese whisked together. And we're going to need confectionery sugar. And I like to add just a little bit of vanilla to this also. You could make this cream really any flavor you want. If you wanted to give it a citrus or a almondy flavor, just by using some extract. All right, that's together. I'm just gonna scrape down my sides. See the theme here, always scrape down the sides of your bowls. Make sure that all of your ingredients get incorporated together. Okay. The next ingredient that goes in here is, I think it says a 7-ounce jar of fluff. So that's a cup, right? 7 ounces, 8 ounces is a cup. So I am going to scoop my fluff. Marshmallow is one of my favorite foods in the whole entire world. One of my favorite sweet foods. Alrighty, I'm going to mix that together. Alright, we're going to scrape down and get the insides of the whisk scraped also. This is hard to tell if it's all incorporated because they're all the same color. So now it looks like frosting, kind of a thin frosting. We're going to get that guard again because it's time to add, well, I'm going to put a teaspoon of vanilla in there. This cap is a teaspoon. Now the recipe does say to have a little bit of milk on the side if we need extra, but last time I made it, I did not need it. And I'm going to get another measuring cup. Oh, this is 2/3. Okay. So let's measure the confectionery sugar. If your confectionery sugar is nice and fresh, you don't have to worry about sifting it. But if it's been sitting around for a little while, it does get a little clumpy. So you would want to sift it. So that was 2/3 and 2/3 and 2/3 equals 2 cups. Isn't that what it says? 2 cups. All right. Even though I have my guard on, I'm just gonna do it very slowly because I don't want all of that confectionery sugar flying all over the place. All right, as it starts to incorporate, I'll raise the speed a little bit. And what am I gonna do? I'm gonna scrape it down. See some confectionery sugar on the sides of the bowl. And at this point, I am going to taste it. Little magic spoons in here. I always have my tasting spoons. You need to taste as you go along. That is really good. It does need to be mixed a little bit because it's a little clumpy. Wow. Don't forget to check your cookies in the oven. There it is. I'm going to take this. I'm going to check my cookies. My big ones I made a little too big. They all ran into each other. Those are the ones we're going to use for the cheesecake bites. All right, let's take this bowl out of here. And I want to show you what this looks like. And you do not have to put it in a separate bowl. As a matter of fact, you try to use as little bowls as possible. Now, the recipe does not say it, but I am going to put this into the refrigerator to chill it a little. Yes, I will chill it. And while I was at the refrigerator, I took out, and I have a tray here, a little tray. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to just scoop out. Now I'm making tiny little balls. You can use a scooper like this. Or I'm going to show you another technique that chefs use. They take 2 teaspoons, like spoons that you have in the restaurant. And you just go back and forth. You can make a ball this way. Actually, you could make quenelles. A quenelle is you take it in your spoon and you go back and forth. Doesn't have enough. Go. Try to do it backwards. You go back and forth on your teaspoons. And they make like little football shapes, little oblong football shapes. Those are cute too. And they're not perfect balls yet. I just want to scoop them out. So you see how we have something to do while we're waiting for our cookies to bake. And the cookies bake for 7 to 9 minutes. As a matter of fact, I am going to check on my little ones. They most definitely seem like they're done. And not bad, my heart-shaped ones. And my big ones, I'm going to give another 2 minutes for those because they were bigger. All right, so I'm going to continue to portion these out. Try to get the same amount every time, make everything uniform. I saw one video, they made them really big. Like they used like an ice cream scoop. I bet you this would make a really nice filling for the whoopie pies too. So you could taste each one and see which one you like. Very versatile. There's my timer. Excellent. All right, I'm just going to put these to the side, and I'm going to take my cookies off the cookie sheets. Take them off and put them on the cooling rack. Because we want these to be totally cooled before we fill them. Okay, the video recordings are not cooperating with me. Alright. Fantastic. So those are all set to go. I'm going to get a big bowl, and I'm going to take the big cookies. Be careful, one is still hot. And I'm going to just crumble them up in this bowl. I'm going to do a couple at a time. Maybe. So here we go. I'm just going to crumble these into crumbs. And at the same time, I'm kind of lifting them because mine is still hot. But make sure you just get cooled down all the way. Nice. Wipe my hands off. Okay, so I crumbled up my cookies. I got myself a nice little plate. Now I'm going to get my little balls that I made before. And I'm going to take them and I'm going to roll them in the red velvet cake batter. And this is when you can make them rounder, okay? There it is. So you toss it in. Then when it's got cake on it, you can kind of smush it together a little bit to make a nice round ball. Yummy. Take it like this. Kind of reminds me of the Oreo balls we did in the summer. Now, when you're doing this part, don't lick your fingers yet. Wait till we're done making them all, because you don't want to spread your germs to everybody, right? I am so tempted to lick my fingers right now. And again, you can make them any size you like. So this is a 2-bite Oreo ball. Oreo, I want to call Oreo ball. 2-bite red velvet cheesecake bite. I'm going to put these in the freezer. Alrighty, now I'm going to go and get filling for my whoopie pies. There it is. You could take a Ziploc bag if you want. Kind of makes it fun. Show you that little trick that I always have. Put the points into the cup. Fold the edges over the cup so that you could fill your bag up easier. Oh, this is nice that I refrigerated it. Fantastic. I got my bag. It's in my corner. I'm going to snip the tip off of it. Come on. So I'm going to take my cookie. I'm going to pipe it out. I don't have to go all the way to the edge. And then I find a cookie that's just about the same size. So pick out your cookies first. Kind of match them up to each other. Here's 2 little ones. Oh, these were so cute. You can chill them too. Actually, if you don't eat all of them, which I hope you don't eat all of them at one sitting, you do want to keep them in the refrigerator because they have butter and cream cheese in them. Let's make a few of those heart-shaped ones. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's cute. Came out like a heart. These you definitely want to kind of try to match up together to find similar shapes. Fantastic. And then if you really want to go crazy, you could roll them in some sprinkles or some coconut. because doesn't coconut and banana, well mine is banana, coconut and marshmallow goes so good together. A lot of the little things so I have here. I have little hearts. Alright. Mix them all up. Yummy. And let's go get those cheese balls. Alright. And I'm going to taste one of these. Mmm. And there you have it, my friend. Little mini red velvet whoopie pies and Oreo bites. Thank you for joining my class. Please, if you like what you saw, subscribe to my station, like it. Visit me on Facebook at chefsofthefuture.com. And from my kitchen to yours, with love and creativity, have a great day.